Still Speak podcast. This is episode 4 of my Kaitlyn Conley series. If you've not listened to the other episodes, please take a listen. For the rest, we're just going to get right back to it. In the last episode, we were discussing Adam Yoder, which is the victim Mary Yoder's son, and his testimony in the first trial of Kaitlyn Conley. There was 2 trials. The first one ended in a hung jury, and the second one she was convicted. In this one, we're going to take a look at Adam's testimony in the second trial and see if he added anything or changed anything. So let's get to it. In trial 2, Adam disclosed that he was the one that got Kaitlyn the job at his parents' office. He was going back to school and they needed a second person because he would be part-time. And there was a year period where both him and Kaitlyn had been working there and he was the one to train her. And he also disclosed that he had disagreements with his parents during this time because they were fine with how the business was running, but he had done some marketing internships and he wanted to update the business and do some advertising. So his parents and him were not getting along, and eventually he phased out of working there. He did fill in for Kaitlyn a few times when she would go on vacation in 2013 and 2014. Adam was asked again about the first time he confronted Katie about his friend Aaron, and he said that she denied anything happening with Aaron. And then he says that he spoke to Aaron and that he ended their friendship, but he maintained speaking to Kaitlyn. And then they moved on to when he was moving and Kaitlyn had to come over to help him return his cats to a farm because he was moving to an apartment that he couldn't keep them at. And he says that he adamantly told her on this day that no, they were not getting back together. Now, in the first trial, he mentioned that he told her no, but he didn't say that he was adamant about it. I'm not quite sure why he was adamant, but that's what he said. So here's what was also different in the first trial, and this is rather huge, okay? He claimed the first time about hearing about her being pregnant was the night that he received a text from her about going to the hospital about an ectopic pregnancy. However, in second trial, he said that she did tell him. She told him the day that she went over to help with the cats, and that she said she was going to get an abortion, and he was angry that she made that decision without him. He even said that they talked via text about the pregnancy from late October into early November when she told him about the ectopic pregnancy. This is a huge discrepancy. He said in the first one that he was upset because he just lost a kid that he didn't even know he was having. This one is he knew, he was told, and it was talked about several times. So I'd love an explanation on that. In the second trial, he was asked about striking Kaitlyn at a party in December of 2013. Adam had said he had been drinking heavily during a going away party that he went to, or it was at his apartment, for his friend, and Adam says Kaitlyn had been drinking as well, and that she was flirting with a few of his friends from his perspective, and he wanted to get away from her, and took a shower. And so she came banging on the door. He asked her to stop, and when he got out of the shower, he took her to the couch, and he says he snapped and he slapped her a few times, and he said that he regretted it immediately and left the house, and he had a friend who had not been drinking drive him to his parents' home. They go to the 2 breaking up in July-August timeframe of 2014, and he was asked to direct his attention to mid-October of 2014, when he says he received a text from Kaitlyn saying that back in July, specifically July 26, saying that he had raped her, choked her, and threatened to kill her. Adam claimed that he was shocked and he didn't know how to react to this because he had been drunk enough to black out that day, so he could not recall, the version of events to defend himself. And this, July 26th date, he said he went to the graduation party with her and her family. And then later that day, Kaitlyn, her sister, and her sister date went back to Kaitlyn's home. The Conley home had a pool, so they drank and swam. I should note that this entire rape allegation was not discussed in trial 1 or asked about to Adam, but only in trial 2. I mentioned in episode 2 of my series about it because I had found some court documents where it was stated. He says he was so drunk that he woke up at his apartment with Kaitlyn, and he does not remember even getting there. He did say he faintly remembers a slap, but he did not remember who slapped who. That's all he remembered. He was then asked about their relationship between July 26th of this allegation and what was supposed to have, occurred later on October 18th when she told him about what he did. And what they were doing was basically trying to show that Kaitlyn was lying because she continued to see him and have sex with him. But I mean, if this was an abusive relationship, and it sure does sound toxic, right, then she could have been continuing out of fear, and this is a common thing in abusive relationships where they continue to stay with the person or they go back to the person. It doesn't necessarily mean she was lying, but I know what they were trying to do. But the next month, Kaitlyn brought up the rape again, and at this time, he essentially said that he believed that she was lying, and instead, he flipped it on her, and this is when he confronted her about Aaron. Because in between October and November of 2014 is when he had downloaded her information from his computer to his phone, and he claims he did this because he knew and had proof that she lied about Aaron, so he was led to believe that she was also lying about the rape. 10 days later, he got another text from her about the rape after a few normal texts in between those 10 days. And at this point, they got on the phone, and he told her that he had information on his phone, and that's why he believes she was lying. Prior to this call, she had sent him pictures of her bruises. Somehow, this talk about the rape eventually stopped, and they maintained talking via text into the spring of that year and would occasionally meet up for pizza or tea. In April of 2015, they met up and Kaitlyn gave him a supplement called Alpha Brain. Adam said he was familiar with it and he had taken it previously. Then he says that she texted him what it helped with later that day. But that's odd because if he was familiar with it and had taken it before, then why did he need to know what it was for? And Adam said that the first time he took it, he only took 1 capsule, but the next time that he took it, he took 2 capsules. The second time, a few hours later, he woke up in the middle of the night with diarrhea, and it was not clarified when he took his second dose of the 2 pills in relation to when she had given him the bottle. But he also didn't remember if the bottle was sealed. He then started to vomit. He went to urgent care. They gave him nausea meds and said if it was worse to go to the ER. The med did not help, so then he did go to the ER, and he spent the day there getting tests and fluids and was discharged as it just being a GI bug, and he was out of school for a week. Now, I know where they were going with this testimony. They were basically trying to imply that she attempted to kill Adam first. However, he did take 2 capsules of this Alpha Brain, and with supplements, you are supposed to wean into them. Not many people know that, and, you're supposed to go up to a higher dose slowly. In addition, he was on different types of meds, and that taken along with an Alpha Brain could have been an issue. I'm not saying that's the case, but it's possible. And he was also heavily drinking. They revisited the argument with his mother on Mother's Day after visiting her house, and he disclosed that he actually told his mother that he did not want to see her or his dad as frequently anymore, just on occasion. He claimed he later apologized to his mother, but he didn't say when he did this and how long after. They moved on to the next month in June of 2015, and the text where Katie said, he owed her $22,000. Well, in trial 2, he said $23,000, and, he said 22 in the first trial. So which is it? Did she say 22 or did she say 23? I don't know. In July of 2015, Adam was not in school or working, but living with a roommate. How was he paying for this? It had to come from somebody. I mean, his aunt did say that during this time, Mary was giving him money, and so we know Kaitlyn was giving him money as well. But, did he also have other income? Was he using credit cards, etc.? I mean, how is this kid living? In trial 2, Adam elaborated about what Kaitlyn had helped with for his mother's celebration of life and what she had paid for and then later was reimbursed. And he had said that she drove around town looking for lanterns that light up and fly and a dance floor and anything else that needed to be taken care of because he and his sister had gone to the sister's home in Long Island for 2 days during this planning process. And the dance floor was his idea because his mother loved to dance. On the day of his mother's celebration of life, Adam admits that he drank very heavily, which is fair, right? It's his mother and she had just died. And as we discussed later that day in the evening, Kaitlyn and Adam did have sex. The testimony continued, and it led to the gloves and goggles and masks found in his car that the free Kaitlyn Conley website mentioned, and I read to you in episode 2. Adam says he doesn't recall investigators asking him about those items back when they found them. He had only recently been asked about them prior to trial because they had become problematic. We talked in episode 2 that Adam had said the items were used to fix his car. But he used the mechanic, and his mechanic checked the car and didn't find that any work had been done in the car since the last time that he had worked on it. So that's a big discrepancy. Big time, Adam. Why did you have these goggles, mask, and gloves? We don't know. Let's move down. So down in the testimony, it was brought up that in 2012, Adam set up the Conleys' Wi-Fi at their home with no password protection, and Adam claims that he does not recall that. They then brought up that Adam was having a sexual dating relationship with a 16-year-old girl when he was 20 at the time, around the time that he met Kaitlyn, and he was asked if he knew that was illegal. He said yes. He was then asked if he knew that was a felony. He said he did not, and it was said that he was never charged for that. In this trial, Adam claimed he was not blackout drunk the night that he slapped Kaitlyn several times, but when you look back at trial 1, he did indeed agree when asked if he had a blackout moment when he woke up at home and he didn't know how he got there, so the story changed. In this trial, he was asked about a text exchange in February of 2015 when he and Kaitlyn had a 280 text message exchange. He was asked if he remembers saying, quote, "So I decided to be an alcoholic because I loved you too much to leave you, but you treated me so shitty that I decided if I was not constantly drunk, I'd rather be dead," unquote. And he confirmed that he said that. He was asked then if he said, quote, "I'm sorry that your crazy stalker," quote, referring to himself, and then the full text was read out loud to include, quote, "prevented what could have been a long and prosperous relationship," unquote. He said yes. The text included Adam saying he was sorry, he was done, he loved her, I just want to text you every day telling you how much I love you and that we should start fresh and try again. And Adam explained that he wasn't trying to get back together with her, but this is how he was feeling. And in the same text exchange, Adam said, "Please don't do this, please don't disappear and scare me, please, Katie. If you love me, then don't do this to me again." And then he was asked if he was an actor, and Adam said yes, he did some amateur acting and was featured in some local films. And they asked this because he also texted Kaitlyn that the only time that he feels anything is when he is acting, and that he could not even cry, and that he does not do enough acting for it to be effective. So that's fascinating. On March 20th, one text he told Katie he still loved her and he wanted her to know that. On May 3rd, she had brought up the loan again, and he had asked her to wait until after finals week to discuss it. On July 3rd of 2015, he then texted her saying he was going through a box of old memories and it was really difficult for him. And They asked him, were you still in love with Katie at this point? And he claimed no. The box was just emotional because, everything in it was between us, and including a piggy bank and plastic Easter eggs. And when he texted Katie this, she responded, things change. But Adam claims not to remember that. The response from Katie. Adam was asked, and then he admitted to drinking and taking Adderall in July and August of 2015. And Adam said he was not addicted to the Adderall, but a text to Kaitlyn on August 11th said, quote, I wish I could get off Adderall. I already know I cannot quit this cold turkey, unquote. Adam was asked when Kaitlyn picked him up from the airport after his 2 trips with his father if he took a swing at her. He said no. And then they went back to a week prior to her picking him up at the airport to a text that he sent her that said, quote, I am garbage and garbage and garbage and garbage and garbage. My dad likes you more than me, as does my sister and her husband, unquote. Now, he didn't say my sister and her husband. He said their names, but I'm keeping their names out of this. August 18th, he texted her, quote, I am so very scared of who you are sleeping next to while I'm gone. I think maybe I forgot to tell you I cannot sleep without you next to me by my side. I miss you so much. Where are you? I still love you, unquote. Then he said, quote, I think you're on vacation with Mike, unquote. And he was referring to Mike Baker, who actually introduced the two back in 2011. And Adam claims he wasn't jealous. He said he was just not trusting. On September 3rd, Kaitlyn brought up the loan yet again. And in this text, she suggested he get a part-time job, to which Adam replied, quote, F that. I'm not starving. I get you want to be paid back. I do. I just told you I'm struggling on every effing class, and your suggestion is to put time into some bullshit minimum wage job? How inspirational, unquote. He asked us, if it's true that he didn't want to get a job, and he said it's not that he didn't want to get a job or he didn't want to work. He just wanted to focus on school. The text continues, though, quote, God damn, Katie, I have money. I have financial aid money. Jesus, I'm in a bad mood, and generic advice is so sad, unquote. On September 3rd, still, he told Kaitlyn, quote, I sold everything I own and emptied my bank account, making the decision to start over, homeless and broke. I still couldn't pay you back. Ha, 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 unquote. On September 21st, that's when he picked her up to ransack his parents' office. And after that ordeal, later in the day, he had texted her saying that he was sorry, he still loved her, and he agreed that this was his way of apologizing for his behavior at the office. On September 30th, he said, quote, I don't have time to sleep. Why should I pick up a job so you can get paid back sooner, unquote. On October 24th, the loan came up again, to which Kaitlyn says, the sooner you're done with this, the sooner you're done with me. And he responded and said, quote, I'm not trying to be done with you. Relax, unquote. November 18th, he sent a text saying, quote, sometimes I wish you were still someone I can talk to. I hope you're doing better than I am. Do you have a moment to talk? I'm so sad, Katie. I'm so sorry for everything. I wish you were here right now, unquote. When asked if he still wanted to be with her when he said this, he said no. On November 26th, he texted her that he missed her, he loved her, he just wanted her to know that, and he wasn't expecting for her to reciprocate. Adam claims that, he was just being sentimental. It didn't mean that he was in love with her, and he was not asking to get back together with her. They then changed the subject to Alpha Brain, and it was said that he had 2 bottles of this, and only one was turned over originally. But Adam said that he didn't do that intentionally. The first bottle was in that storage unit that his cousin had gotten and put his stuff in, and he gave that bottle to the sheriff later when he got access to the storage unit. And he disclosed that he got that other bottle in 2013 when him and his friend decided they wanted to try it, and he was asked if he was the only one to decide which bottle the detectives got, and he said yes, he gave them Kaitlyn's. But then they said, but no one else would have known that that was the exact bottle she gave you besides you, right? And he agreed. So then they went back to the text exchange that Adam had with his mother on Mother's Day of 2015 when they had an argument. And, he said that he didn't want to see her or his dad as frequently anymore. The day after that, on May 11th, he texted his mother and said, quote, I have just found out that I'm completely broke. The last few weeks have been a fog since I got sick. I do not know what happened. I just know I won't be able to pay any of my bills. If you and Dad still want to pay the credit cards as a loan to me, let me know. If not, tell me now so I can find another way. If you cannot do this without telling, keeping it private, especially from Katie, tell me so I can find another way. Unquote. And then he mentioned his sister offered for him to stay with her to make some money, but he told her no, and that, he's like, but realistically, he didn't have any other option. He then texted his mom and said, quote, I honestly wish this was never an offer. I'm just being bailed out again and taught to be irresponsible with my money. I am sorry I ruined Mother's Day, unquote. He confirmed that his mother and father did pay off his credit cards, and he did not remember the exact amount, but he said it was around $5,000. I think we just figured out how Adam was sustaining his life, because a year prior, Kaitlyn had paid off $6,000 in credit card debt for him. And now he already had $5,000 in credit card debt again. In this text with his mother, he told his mother to promise to only log in and pay it, because he didn't want her seeing any of his purchases, he said on the stand. On Father's Day, he did not go over to his parents' house because he wasn't feeling well, but he visited them a few days later. But in a June 21st text exchange with his mother, he was upset because they had made other plans after a miscommunication about when he would be going there. This is important because Adam claims after the argument with his mother over Mother's Day that they made up, and he did not mention in the first trial that there was another issue the following month, and then there was another issue on July 7th when he texted her and said, quote, I lost 20 pounds total during the time I was sick and weighed only 135 pounds, not a single pound gained back since. I did not ask you for help so you can make money. I asked because I was skinny and weak and I can't do this job. Make every excuse you want and how much you did for everyone. I really don't give a shit. I don't ask you for much. I barely even talk to you. God forbid I text you for something important like anything taking up 2 hours of your time, unquote. And lastly, in this trial, it was mentioned that Adam went to stay with his sister, as you recall, after being interviewed by police in December of 2015. And we find out that he actually stayed there until August of 2016 when his sister and him had a falling out. And the court would not allow more to be disclosed about this argument. But Adam did say that he said terrible things to and about his sister, and she did the same to him. Now, I want to say, I think all of this is really important for context because we had these two individuals who clearly had a very toxic on-again, off-again type of relationship. But one was more stable than another. We heard that, Kaitlyn, was consistent with her degrees. She maintained her grades. She was at one job for a long period of time. And Adam was jumping job to job, college to college, degree to degrees, having money issues, drinking issues, drug issues, arguments with his family, arguments with his parents prior to his mother's death, etc. How these two found each other, they just, I guess that's how it goes, right? I'm not sure where the attraction was. However, I'm just saying these were two very opposite people. So how they ended up together is fascinating, to say the least. But in the context of Mary Yoder's death, it's really fascinating, right? And we're going to get more into this because at one point, Adam was considered a suspect. as was his father. And in the next episode, I'm going to do the same thing with Bill Yoder. I'm going to go over what was discussed in trial 1 versus what was said in trial 2, and we're going to see if he added anything or changed anything or said anything fascinating that we need to discuss, anything that's a red flag or alarming or odd or strange, etc. And then after that, we'll discuss in another episode a few other witnesses' testimonies from trial 1 and trial 2, and then we're going to discuss what has happened since then. Until next time, I'll see you soon.